Hey guys, Jodi here, and this is our fifth episode in our season two, the Gringa and Local podcast, where we basically go through the Belizean lifestyle through the eyes of a local.
And the Gringa. I'm Rachel. Hello, everyone.
And we have expanded a lot more now into bringing more voices into the podcast, from all the different types and walks of life that make up the San Pedro lifestyle. Whether they're locals, whether they're expats, whether they're business owners, we want to build a voice of what the Belizean lifestyle is about. And without further ado, I'll let them introduce themselves.
So I'm Jodi Schell, and this is my son,
Chubs.
And we came down here the first time on vacation. We have
2014.
2015, because the twins were one. I have twins too that are 10 now, but they were just 1 year old the first trip we came. He has some older siblings, and we came down with all 5 kids, and we were here for 10 days and loved it. And from before that, I had always watched House Hunters International, and that's where I saw Belize. And the English speaking, said the government, retirement, there just were a lot of things that really hit for me. And being on a ranch in Montana, shoveling snow when it's cold. I would literally DVR the episodes. And so I was super excited to come the first time. And that first flight over, even though up to that there had been some issues, there was a strike going on, so things were the trip had a little bit of
strike at the airport.
At the airport. So had a little some bumps along the way when we were getting here. But once we got through customs and immigration, and you get on the puddle jumper headed over, and you see the water, and nobody cared. Nobody cared about the long day. Nobody cared about any of those problems. And I don't know if you guys remember, you kids were like, Mom, you told us it was going to be nice, but you didn't tell us it was going to be this nice. Like they were.
How old were you, Chubs, on this first trip down?
I was in my first year of college. I would have been 18.
18.
Yeah.
So they were really excited with the drinking age being 18.
That was pretty cool.
To do
Order
it.
my own beers.
It wasn't even that. It was more so the thing they were really excited about was to go into duty free with their own passport and buy their own. They thought that was really
nice.
cool. They thought that was.
Did you still get a little nervous when they were checking your ID?
Not really.
All right.
I'm from southeast Montana, and that's
So that's why I say it's not.
the drinking age there is lower than 18.
Right. And that's where I say too, for us, what the things that some people have problems with here are not issues for us, because being so remote, we're 2.5 hours from a Walmart.
There are so many similarities between.
You would not think so.
Montana.
Montana, yeah. When you really get into the backwoods area, okay, people around here, a lot of them know how to butcher their own chickens. They know how to do all their own stuff to survive.
Right.
A lot of cities, people have they pick up meat out of Walmart and they have no idea where it came from, what even animal it came from.
Right.
People around here, it seems like have a lot more similarities with that type of lifestyle.
Right.
A little bit more
The
rugged,
work ethic.
right?
Work
Yeah.
ethic. How
Work ethic.
young did you start working?
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as
Yeah.
you can, you're driving.
You're
even
helping
the
your family with
yeah.
whatever their business is.
Right.
So on a ranch, you were so far, you have to be able to do some mechanicing, some electrical. I can change my tires. I can, change a battery. I can, a lot of those things that here some people will be frustrated with.
Or imported foods being expensive.
Right.
You didn't get to go to Walmart every day and just go get stuff.
So there was a local store about 45 miles away, almost all of it gravel. So the roads were not really an issue for us.
So it's like
here.
the road's going north.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Right.
That's what I drove to school every day.
And then if you bought from that little local store, you paid a lot more.
Right.
So we were
a long
used to
ways.
not having a lot of selection. What was your graduating class?
10, and there was 10 girls and me.
And him. He was the only boy.
It wasn't that great. It wasn't a good
Did they
thing.
put lipstick on you then? You had to play Pretty
did
Pretty
not.
Princess?
They did not.
He had his
That's
picks
good.
for prom.
I don't think those girls played Pretty Princess.
Okay, right. They're out there fixing things.
It was a little different, yeah. But you had so far to go. Their football games, they would get home from a football game at 3 o'clock in the morning.
And then drive an hour out to the ranch.
You know, same thing as we're here. If you go to the mainland to go do something, to go to a football game or do something, you get home at 3 o'clock in the morning. That we were used to things like that. Power, electricity. We have been without power more there than we have here.
Oh,
We had
interesting.
3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks, and it's spring storms, so that it rains, and so it's on the lines, and then it freezes, and then when the wind blows, it topples all the poles, so it's miles and miles and miles.
Just to go to one house. So
So-
you're the last person that, like, you have one house.
Right,
You
they're
know
in
how
no
many
rush.
other one houses out there are out?
Right.
So you
There's a
had,
lot.
we dealt with a lot more power
And you also
issues.
can't, like, we're an hour and something from the nearest town. If you take your tractor, sure, you can get there in like a day. But you can't leave. You can't leave in a vehicle.
Right.
No,
There's so
when,
much
when you
snow.
were snowed in. Yeah.
So-
When you were snowed in, you just
I remember I think it was that same one. There was plenty of those nights. We all would have to huddle in the same bed. You're wearing snow jackets, everything, but we're
close,
all
and everybody sleep
5
together
of us
in
in
one
the same
bed,
bed.
to try
Stay
to
warm.
You could
maintain.
write
Better
your
one.
name on the inside of the wall in the frost because
my gosh.
you lose power. Our furnace was electric.
Right.
Our stove was propane, so like we were cooking all the
We
time.
would, yeah, we
trying
would
to
bake,
eat
and
all the
that's,
time.
The
so those would be
bathing too,
differences. Those would be differences. Like here, people don't do a lot of baking and stuff because of the heat. There, in a storm, that's the first thing you do. You start cooking because it
Right.
heats up the house, you know, for things like that. And then he actually worked as a utility lineman. That's what he went to school for. And so then he worked for a utility lineman. And
So I also have been in some miserable fucking
Right. I would imagine. Oh my gosh.
rubber gloves. And yeah, like if it's negative 20 outside, you're up
You're
there for
there.
like an hour.
You
I
have no
had one
choice.
time, so you like go to tie the wire back into the pole, and my fingers were so numb I couldn't use them, and I was like, I don't know. I was yelling at my foreman. I'm like, I can't do this, and he's like, take your hand and smack it on the side of the bucket as hard as you can for like a minute until you can feel that, and then you, sure as shit, you sit there and just
to deal with. So
pound it.
here,
Then you can
so
feel
here at
you can
least-
feel the pain, so you can
Yeah.
feel your hand. to
Here
do
it might
it.
be hot.
Yep.
But I mean, as long as you stay hydrated, or
You can jump in the
whatever.
water,
Yes.
you can strip
Yeah,
down.
yeah. But you there when it's cold, it's life and death.
Right.
I'd rather be hot any day than cold.
The twins, the first doctor's appointment, they were born in Belize, Montana, which is about 6 hours, and that's the closest hospital that you could have twins in. And their first appointment, their first checkup that we went back to Billings, and he had gone with me, and we were coming home. And of course, we get a flat tire on the gravel road, probably still 20-some minutes from 30 minutes from home. And we would take turns getting out of the pickup to be trying to crack lugs and jacket up everything because you couldn't stand, you could only stand to be out there for so
Yeah.
long. Then
Yeah.
the next one would go out and because it was 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Although I will say, what I said was if he wouldn't have been with me,
Sit right
I would
there.
have been sitting right there because I knew when the sun came up, the neighbor was going to be coming out with his tractor to go feed hay. I'll just sit here and wait till he comes. If he wouldn't have been there to help me, I was like, no way, it's too cold. I'm not doing that.
Oh my gosh. So were you born in Montana then?
No,
Born
I was
raised?
actually the border state right
Okay.
across South Dakota. So I was in South Dakota and then got married and moved to a ranch in Montana. So
And people always think when we say we're from Montana, we're in a mountainous, beautiful area. Very southeast corner of Montana, more hayfields and hills.
There's-
Not
well,
quite-
we're
it's
in a
not
forest.
mountainous.
It's
And
not Yellowstone like the
No.
show.
And
no,
that's
no.
like 8 hours away.
Right.
Like, I love mountains, but I would drive to Wyoming because it's 4.5 hours to the Bighorns versus all the way across.
Now we have, the ranch is surrounded, which we still have the ranch, is surrounded by forest. So we do have pine trees. So he says, I haven't been there yet, but he says August Pine Ridge on the mainland is
Mountain Pine Ridge.
is similar.
It looks exactly like where I grew up.
Imagine
100%.
that.
The dirt roads, the pine tree looks
the pine
literally
trees
like
and that
our,
kind of thing.
In
Our
the
neck of the
Coyote
woods.
district, for those who don't know where Mountain Pine Ridge is as well.
So
that's one of my
I do-
favorite areas.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I do have a question. When was that light bulb moment? Like you have given us a lot of input as into how similar and how actually easier your life here was compared to where you're from. And I was gonna ask you, what was the hardest thing about moving here, which doesn't seem like there wasn't any hard thing about moving here, or was there?
There really isn't a whole lot of I went back to Colorado to visit some friends a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and after 2 or 3 days, I wanted to come back. And I was on vacation. I was having fun going to concerts, visiting friends. Didn't want to be there right after I got there. There isn't a whole lot. I'd have to think about that.
The people are not the same. The attitude is not the same.
In the States, yeah.
It's just
everything's.
We usually make it to Dallas before people come out of vacation mode here and they're back to being in a rush.
Right.
Here's a very child-centered culture. Everybody here is taken care of when the girls were little. We could go out to eat and people would be helpful, or if they spill, it just goes in the sand. It's not a big deal. Where you try taking twins to eat in the States and people are like, oh,
Yeah.
They didn't enjoy you coming to their restaurant or whatever with twins, where here it was good. So usually by the time we get to our first stop is usually Dallas, the first airport. And by then people are coming out of vacation mode and in a hurry. And you just instantly start feeling that rushed feeling where here things are just so much more
Laid back.
I suppose the hardest thing probably, and now it doesn't bother me as much because I've been here 4 years. I've gotten all my licensing,
right.
all the paperwork done. But paperwork here.
4 years after.
That's no joke though. You're supposed to be able to apply for residency 1 year after you're
Yep.
here. It was 3 years before I could even apply, and a whole nother year before I even get it.
So yeah, no,
That
definitely.
makes things a little difficult.
The
Like I
paperwork.
couldn't get a driver's license. Okay,
Yep.
now one in the States when expired.
Right.
I can't get one in the States because I don't have an address there
Right.
anymore. What do you do?
We have a story about that too.
Yeah, we do.
But then you were coming. You said you came from 2015, right? And then you started coming every year.
The twins and I came. He didn't.
Well, yeah,
You
I
didn't
came
come
on
until after I
vacation.
moved. No, but I'm saying you would, after the twins and I came every year after 2015. The twins and I would come every year for 3 to 6 weeks, and we would each time extend our vacation a little bit longer. Then it might be 2 vacations twice a year that we came. But from the time that we moved down here in 2017, he would come every single year for their birthday. So he came down and would bring friends.
That was a
So
good time of year to
he-
leave Montana.
When is your birthday? February?
Yeah.
February. So it's
Nice time to get out of there.
bitter cold there. You literally will. I would always wear my flip-flops from like right there, and then we'd have blanket you'd wrap your feet in on the airplane until, because you see people here all the time and they don't understand the dressing in layers thing, and they're coming from those cold places, and you see them trying to walk to Sandbar or something there, and they're just going to drag their luggage, and they've got sweaters on, and I'm like, layers. You've got to think.
So it was gradual when you guys
For us, definitely.
All of us.
His was
I had been here before, so I knew I liked the area. I knew I got along with people pretty well. I enjoyed the water.
and that's
I just got tired of where I was at. I was trying to move out of Montana,
Right.
hopefully Colorado. I looked at a couple places and applied for a job for over a year in
Yeah.
my field, and I had one interview in a year, and I was like, I'm not sitting here for another winter. It was coming into winter again. I moved down Thanksgiving Day.
He was going to
So it
come in
was-
February. And then it was like, so why are you waiting until February? He's like, well, because I was coming for the girl's birthday. I'm like, well, when do you want to come? And he's like, I'll come tomorrow.
That was a big decision in my head though, because I'm throwing away my career and everything that I bought, I'm gonna sell now. We had been talking about it, but I didn't just want to start selling things and then I back out of it.
Right.
And now I don't have a TV or any of the stuff in my house. So I told her, buy a plane ticket. She got a plane ticket 2 weeks out.
Thanksgiving Day, flights are cheap. Nobody wants to fly.
Right.
He didn't care what day it was. So it was like, what, $130 or something for a one-way ticket? It's like, all right, I guess you're coming in Thanksgiving.
Sold everything that I could in 2 weeks. Called my boss, told him I was leaving in 2 weeks,
Wow.
which I also had COVID at the time.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to go to work for 2 weeks.
I couldn't work anyway.
Seriously.
We
So
were scared.
you're supposed to get tested
I'm sure.
before you come into the country, but you had the option to do it here. But I didn't know that, and like literally the day I told my boss that I was quitting my job, I had taken a test a couple days before that, and I get a call that says that it's the Montana Health Department. They said it came back positive. And this gal was trying to tell me it was going to be a couple months before I came back with a negative test. And I was like, I just quit my job and sold
And I'm moving in 2 weeks.
I need
so
a negative test to get into the country. But you could get tested here. So
Yeah.
I figured if I'm positive, they'll quarantine me here.
Right.
And
Just
at
come
least
to
You'll
our
still be
house.
able to get here, right?
I'm in
right.
the country at least.
And then too, yeah, that was an interesting. But then
Nice 2 weeks.
I will say too that even like for him, people think that he grew up on the water. So yes, we were in Montana, but it's not like Western Montana that you see on TV either. I mean, we had some dams.
Cricks.
And cricks, and
boat-
I mean,
no one
very
had boats.
no,
Right.
no, we had a pedal boat that we
Right.
bought finally. But
Put it
I
in
mean,
the water 10 times.
yeah, but you don't do water activities. He had never driven a boat or done anything, and now he has his tour guide, and we just started a tour company, and now he's doing these things that and people will be like, "Oh, you grew up on the water?" No,
No, it's taken a lot of...
no. I will say,
Taking a few years.
I will say this though: we didn't wear shoes
Yeah.
even in Montana. So the rule in our house was shoes on or socks off, because if you go running, you ruin your socks. So before the days of electric start vehicles, when I'm gonna have to take them to school, this was my electric start. So they would literally run barefoot in the snow out to start the vehicle.
Unless I was at work, you didn't wear shoes. If anything, slides.
Right.
So for
Or
that
something
part,
like
that
that.
part was easy for us. People are like, "Oh, no, that we did do that in Montana."
So are you all starting the tour company, or what are you guys up to now?
Yeah, well, I still teach. I teach psychology online, so I primarily do that, and I homeschool the twins. So that's where the majority of my time is spent. But they have started the tour, and the girls
Over the last
are
couple
helping and-
months or so, getting
It's
paperwork.
all the paperwork.
Yeah,
All the paperwork.
that's what I say with the paperwork thing. Like where I was at right before this, I was doing paper. Like that's it's a lot.
Gosh.
You touched into a very important topic. Sorry, I kind of cut you off there. Raising the twins.
Yeah.
Raising kids overall in this
Yes.
island. So you had mentioned that you have been raising the twins here.
Yep.
They're more Belizean than they are
Yes.
American.
Well,
How?
they were 3 when we moved here. So
Oh, they were
yes.
3. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're basically Belizean.
Yes.
What has that been like? Because there's a lot of folks that come here as expats when they're already retired, their kids are have already left the nest, and all of those questions are not things that you see a lot of online in forums and what's not. What were your biggest questions when you were coming here with them, and how has it been like raising them here?
I didn't have a ton of questions because we'd been visiting for so long, at least in the beginning. Once we had to start putting them in school or whatever, then it was like, okay. And we chose to use a local preschool. They had teacher Andrea, and it was great. Rosella, they're wonderful. And of course, everybody wanted to know who are these little white girls and why they're in their class. They will tell you that the hardest thing for them in the beginning was all of the mothers trying to sneak over and feel their little blonde hair. And they were shy. They'd never gone to school. They'd never had a babysitter.
Right.
So they were like, "Mom, they're touching our hair." So it took them a little bit to get over that. Now they've been here long enough. I know that like when they were smaller, especially, you go somewhere, and as I was saying before, it's such a child-centered culture that you can be doing something and the kids are out here playing, and at any given time, if you look up, there's 3 to 5 other local moms or dads that are keeping an eye when they're playing in the water. And not deep water, but they could swim already, but that would be watching them, and paying attention. So that part was easy. I will say for us, it's different. As I said, we don't. I actually had to go to the hairdresser right before we came. That's the only reason that my hair's done today. But that's probably one big difference, is that we're very tomboyish. And the girls are too. So we don't do a lot of the big bows and the fancy hair and, the clothes that they wear here, little girls would wear here, my girls. And so they're often mistaken for boys. Even though they have long blonde hair, they will often.
I get that just how.
Well, he has long blonde hair.
That's the other thing, is I'm the dad then when I take them around.
No.
We definitely don't like to
I'm
go
single,
together.
ladies. I'm single.
Exactly.
We definitely don't like to go together, because then they think it's mom and dad. So we definitely don't like that part.
Let's get that clear.
But
should have started this.
Mom and son.
Yeah. And then, but yeah, for him, they'll say, "Oh, do your boys want anything to eat? Do your
They
boys?"
did
and
it
he's
the
like,
other day on the tour.
and he was like, "Oh, really?
How?
Yeah."
I don't get it.
Yeah. So, and then school. We kept him in local school, and they got along great. They really.
They went to a primary school, local primary school, yeah?
Until they went to ACES, until COVID, and then you were doing the packets, and it was just so much. Well, so you were basically homeschooling anyway, and I had homeschooled the older kids off and on from the ranch. Anyways, I teach online, so it just wasn't that big of a jump for me. So when they first started back with face-to-face classes, you literally would be driving to school and then get a message on your phone saying, "Oh, someone in that class is sick, they're not having classes." And I was like, okay, we can't keep doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
So we decided just to homeschool, and then as it is, we moved way north, and now it just fits our lifestyle better.
And you just mentioned something, and it's a lot of parents that might be seeing this might say, then how do they get their socializing in? Give us a little.
Football, tours,
And
tours.
yeah.
Yeah.
They have no problem socializing.
When you
We're
see
social
them,
enough.
yes. Yes, they're very social. They've known Ivan forever too, and Rachel, and so they do pop rocks like we used to have in the States as kids, and they challenged and they made Rachel and Ivan do a shot where you put a whole packet under your tongue. There aren't too many kids that can do that. I think you guys were visiting with a group of people. You were visiting with a group of people one time when we came, and Ivan did his homemade selfie stick that he had and was taking a picture, and so then the girls thought that was the coolest thing. So Ivan was like, "Okay, I gotta make the girls a selfie stick." So we're just social people. So
not shy around
Well,
here.
and you've, I think, done a great job too at bringing them into the environments that you're in, right? So, and that's something very typical here that I see in Belize that we don't really see in the States much. You know, it's the kids go over here and the parents go over here. Here in Belize, kids and parents are in the same place.
It's
Oh, yeah.
so child-centered.
Yeah.
The kids are right in there. And that's one thing I was going to say. I'm trying to think of I can't think of a specific example. Maybe you can. But there are things that might hit me a little bit differently, hit Chubby and I a little bit differently than it will the twins, based on the fact that almost all of the memory they have is growing up here. So it might be something that we question.
They don't have a lot to compare it to.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Where we might question something because we are comparing it to having grown up there, that they don't even have that because their memory is
here.
From being here.
Yep.
They have a harder time going back to the States where they have to wear shoes or be in a seat belt or things like that. Food.
How often do you go back? You don't remember the last time you did?
It's been like 2.5 years for me.
Not very often. We don't. We used to go back when they were littler. We went back a lot more often, but it's actually same thing as what he was saying. We literally are
Stressful.
there for about 2 days, and the girls are like, "Okay, I'm ready. Let's go home." Like that's not home anymore.
That's awesome.
And they love once we get back to Texas. There was at the airport this cook had to come out because she thought it was so cool, because they were like, "Can we just do you have rice and beans?" It was breakfast, but do you have like some rice and beans? Do you have some tortillas? Because up in Montana, those are not things you eat. They're like just some beans and a tortilla.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a typical Belizean.
Yep.
But it was not food that's offered up there. That's so I would say not that we've accustomed to this too, but for them that's all they've known or all they remember.
The morning tacos, the breakfast tacos with chicken in it, right? And,
Yes, and chicken is not a breakfast
for us, no.
meat in the States.
No.
Was not, and very much for them.
Yep. I remember when my parents came down and visited, and we were out on Cayo, and so Ivan's like, "Oh, why don't we just get some breakfast tacos?" So we got some breakfast tacos before we went on a tour, and my mom takes a bite of it, and she goes, "What's in this? Where's the egg?"
Chicken,
It's
thinking
chicken.
egg and sausage and pepper.
No, it's not
the same
quite
thing.
right. So it's true. It's very, very true. There's some things that they have to adapt to that
We just
don't
didn't.
have to necessarily.
We did when we were going back and forth more often. I used to bring one whole suitcase that would have like the crackers they liked, the little puffs that they ate, the cereal, all of those things. And I would bring one suitcase that was just of food. And it was when they started school, because I said, okay, we're going to give this a shot. If we're going to come and try this, we're going to stay. Then we're going to stay this whole school year. We're not going to go home once during this school year. And if we're going to be here, then we have to eat what's here, which means you buy the pan cremas, which are, very similar to, crackers in the States, but you have to learn to do it. And I said, okay, and we got to the end of the 9 months of the school year or whatever, and nobody really was in a rush. That's what I expected. You hear same thing with an island, like you will be anxious.
I think
being
one
on
of the
island.
biggest things about moving somewhere like this, especially it being an island, you cannot be a picky person.
No.
If you are, you better have a lot of money, and then you can get what you want and not worry about it. But
to an extent.
if you want to
But you are not allowed to be a picky.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. I've never been picky.
But it's true. Otherwise, you have to ship things in, right?
If you want brand name items or you want Amazon stuff, you can get it. It's gonna be a little bit more expensive,
right, and take time.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
time. But if you can go like a little bit, I say a little bit more of a basic life, but I don't know.
It's simple. It's a simpler life.
Simpler,
right?
yes. But you get to look outside and see that.
Yes.
And you get I've had some miserable days here, for sure. Definitely the good ones outweigh any of those.
And I'm not shoveling snow.
Most days are pretty damn good. So
tell us a little bit more then about your tour company that you started. So you've been here for 4 years. You've been working on this. It's all been in the pipeline for the last few years.
As a tour guide.
I needed
company.
to learn. I hadn't been in the water around boats or anything.
Right.
So like
Learning
3 years
scuba
of
dive.
it was every day just go on boats.
Someone told me that one time they saw you on a kayak in the middle of the lagoon where there were crocodiles, and it was like, did you know they were coming?
I would not say he made the best choices, but he was learning.
I was going and doing something.
You just see what worked and what didn't.
But I would say again, it's
get
back to the
stuck.
same thing as Montana, where they would
Go
do some
your
very,
own-
very
You're off
questionable
on your own.
things to entertain
Whatever,
yourself.
miles from the house.
Yeah, we're out.
You get
we're
bit
out
by a
working
snake,
cows.
you're dead. And I was their age, younger than them doing that.
How far out of the reef have you been?
On the kayak,
Yeah.
it was like 1.5 miles. I was chasing tunas one
Oh,
time.
the time when remember when the
No, that was a different one.
Tell us about these stories.
And I don't know, I was out there, I like going deep dropping on it, and I finally had a kayak, and I could get outside the reef, and you could go on this thing for 10 hours pumping your legs.
There's a pedal one.
You wouldn't be tired.
Okay.
It had rod holders, nice little thing.
And
So
it's
I'd
a
go out
kayak, though.
there. Yeah.
Oh my.
Well, one
outside of the
person
reef.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's-
yes.
he rented
Was it
from
like
somebody,
that
yes.
time, like right now when the water is a lot more
I
calm?
take it out on a rough day.
No.
You fucking take it out on a rough
These are one
day.
of those where he tells his mom stories after he gets back. He's like, you won't believe what I'm like.
Going out is fine. It was coming in. The waves will push you sideways, kind of, and that.
But Tom, there was one time that you were like, oh.
Yeah, I was sitting there. I was deep dropping, and I could hear a wave, and that was a flat, calm day. And I heard this wave, and I kind of look over, and I see this little bit of a wake coming. And there's no other waves out here. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. And it keeps coming, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's a little ways away. So I turn the kayak to face into it, and it knocks all my stuff in the water, comes over the top of the kayak. Well, it was one of the Ramones boats, and they were like a mile away from me. They had come back in the reef, but it was so calm that wake just kept coming and going. So I'm in this little dinky kayak, it's calm as hell, and I'm like, hold on! Trying to turn it around.
So then, when you're talking about all these adventures, what has been in the island? What has been the one that just is your go-to when you're telling people about the great times that you've had in this island, both for you and you, Miss
One
Jodi?
of the coolest things.
No miss, just Jodi.
Yeah. One of the coolest experiences I think I've had last summer. Again, slow season, there wasn't a lot to do, so I have a 33-foot catamaran. So me and a couple local buddies they're commercial fishermen. Some don't even speak English. We'd all pile on this thing, load up with ice, and go over to Turnoff and spend a couple days over there spearfishing. And last year we got, it was like 130, 140 pound Goliath grouper. And it took 4 spears in him, and you have ropes going to your spears, right? So there's 3 of us in the water and 1 dude on the boat. And it took 10 minutes and 4 spears sticking out of this thing before you could pull him up.
But tell him your explanation of
Yeah.
what it reminded you
So
of.
we're all like spread out, doing our own thing, spearfishing, right? And I start hearing a little bit of a commotion, so I look up and I see one of my buddies, and he has his mask off, and I just hear him yell, "Shoot this thing!" So me and this other guy start swimming over to him to see what's going on.
Had he already shot it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he had
yeah.
one in its head,
So
but
he's holding
it's
it.
trying to go out to the deep. And this boy that shot it got the first shot. It's dead through his head, and he's a big boy. Like we said, if it shot me first,
He'd
I'd
die.
have been back in San Pedro pretty quick. I'd have been coming over. So he's fighting this thing, but
What did it remind you of?
I know. I swim up onto it, and it looked like a bull at a rodeo. Is what it reminds me of.
rope
When
a bull,
when
trying
they
to get
open
him
the
out.
gate, this thing was going around breaking coral, smashing everything, and Chicho's just holding on to this line, and it's just dragging him around. Crazy, just going in. So, you didn't want to go down and get too close to it, because it's just...
Wild.
I mean, this
oh my
fish was
gosh.
this tall.
Did you get a
and-
picture?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll send it to us.
put it-
We'll put it up.
all
We'd love
right,
to see
yeah,
it.
it's a big fish.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't have a scale, so we don't know, but
Yeah.
130, 150, somewhere around there. Nice big fish.
Oh, that's incredible.
How long did it take you all to just get it out in the boat and
To get it up on the boat? So after
catching it and everything? And
after
spraying
10
it?
minutes, we put it on the smaller boat, and we cracked its head in, tried brain it or whatever. And then we get it back to the catamaran. That was another 10 minutes, and we're going to lift it on, and there's 2 of us lifting up on it, got a rope through its gill, and it flips and drops down back in the water. It goes. You can't kill that thing. That was insane.
That is huge. So how has it been for you then I know you said it's been an easy transition, but to get, the trust of locals to be incorporated into their groups?
So that is one of the things that
Key families.
Yep.
When I moved here, I did not come with money. I did not come with a plan. I had no idea what I was going to do. I quit my job. I know I need a job. I know it's going to be, everybody here told me, very difficult to get a job here. I didn't come with any plan or any idea. I started going to scuba school. I was diving with Rudy Duran. Every day I was getting my dive master from him. Him and I got, his son was the best man at my wedding. I consider him one of my island. I have a couple island dads,
Yes,
right?
and
Families
he's
that
just
have,
his Rudy's son is just a few months younger than
Younger,
Chubby.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
So we got along really well. And then most of the, like, I hang out with
Through
locals.
that.
I don't hang out with a lot of
Right.
expats.
No.
Right.
All of my friends have been, my first couple months here, I was going to San Mateo and hanging out with buddies after we were doing scuba diving, and she's freaking out. We're gonna be back there.
Can't be back at San Mateo.
at certain times, no. you
Send
need to
me your location.
exactly. I'm like,
But no, even those buddies, I remember one time we were sitting down, and this was right after I got here, and one of them was like, I can't believe this, that you're sitting here with us, hanging out. And I was like, why? And he's like, locals don't come in. We're sitting in his house, not a fancy house, not a nice place. I don't care.
but that again
people
goes.
again,
but that
people
again
around
goes
us
back
had
to
houses like they weren't that damn great.
and that's
didn't care. It didn't matter.
A house doesn't make you money on a ranch. We have nicer barns than we have
No.
houses. I mean, so it just wasn't. And my kids were just never allowed to be. There
don't
was not
look at someone like
culture. There was not any kind of diversity where we lived. But I shoved it down their throat. Grow up that you're not any better than anyone else.
Right.
You are the same as. And so then through, like I said, there was several different, key people that we met that were just super nice to us that, became part of their island families. And once they
I would
see you
be
with
nowhere.
them, then the next one, it just,
I would
Naturally
be
happens.
absolutely nowhere without the people that have helped me, and that to me that is Belize's biggest thing is
the people, for sure.
Yeah.
people that help you, and they have no reason to. Like the buddy I was talking about going spearfishing with. Someone gave me his number one time. I had never met this guy. He just told me he's a real good spearfisherman. And I really wanted to get into it more, learn more. This guy has no reason to be nice to me. All his friends hardly speak any English. Mm-hmm. The nicest guy in the world. I don't know why. Why? Mm-hmm. You have no reason to. Mm-hmm. So things like that have made life here easy. Mm-hmm. People.
Well, then you did a really great job too, like you said, of integrating into the local culture, because there's so many times that people come here
And they don't want
and they don't want
There's
to.
that clear divide. Like,
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
How about you, Jodi? What was your favorite island memory that you've done here?
I don't know if I can.
Can't remember.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know you had a good time. Yeah.
So many good ones that I can't remember. I don't, gosh. Help, I don't know if I can even say things with that.
Flight over the blue hole you liked.
Oh yeah, that is true. That is one of those things that I tell people every time people will, and they'll put it on the tourist page, they'll come here, if they talk to you, they'll ask, they'll be like, if there's one thing you do, and I tell people all the time, flight over the blue hole. Mm-hmm. Yes, you spend a little bit of money to do it, but I am telling you, I don't have a nice phone camera. It's a dirty windshield on the plane, and the pictures look like postcards. It was amazing, and as you're flying out, you see the fingers, it just
Canyons, yeah.
Probably the other thing, and we've been talking about this, and this has a lot to do with the girls, that growing up I played what was soccer, football here. And it just was not the national sport there. It was not something that anybody got. But that was my passion from the time I was little. But it's hard when you're the only one that has that kind of passion. So it has been so great to get to go to so many games here and to get to watch the girls grow up with that much excitement. There is a ball at any given time in our boat, in our vehicle, in our whatever. And the waiter, if he's not busy, will go out and be kicking ball with the girls, out on the beach and whatever. So,
We gotta get these girls on the episode.
Yes, exactly. They can tell you about the football part, but that's, I think, just the family and the people that we've got to meet. And
So that is very awesome to hear, and it's one of the biggest things that always keeps coming up, and about how just the people and the environment that the people have here in San Pedro is way different than back in the States. Now, if I would have to, you guys would have to choose a one meal or one place that you want to have here in the island as featured, that you absolutely make it your thing. Like this is a special thing that you go and have, and what's that, and where do you guys get it at?
Like a property?
No, food.
Food.
Oh, food. Oh,
Food, a meal.
Yeah, hard.
Papooses. I
Yes,
love
we love
some papooses.
yes.
Late
Pupusas,
night.
garnachas.
Oh.
I really like Big Taste. I love the tacos, or what are they called? The
Oh, the burrito
Oh,
tacos.
birria
the burra
tacos.
I love the burra tacos. Like I said, I love garnachas, tostada.
If
Lots
we're going
of
to
food.
if we're just going to like Sandbar, any one of the regular restaurants, whole fish usually.
Yes, yeah,
That's-
The other thing I will say though
really
too
good.
is I'd never had sushi before we moved here. There's no sushi.
I was gonna say
where we live.
Montana, yeah.
So we literally, when we would go back and forth, we would always take the girls out to eat, like right before we came back. We'd be like, "What do you want?" And they would be like, "Lobster." I'm like, "Yeah, let's wait a couple days, and you can have fresh lobster. How about some shrimp?" I'm like, "No." Like, that's been in that freezer for 5 years, and it comes out on Valentine's Day for surf and turf, and that's it. So the seafood and it's
and I've always loved seafood, and I never had good seafood. So now that I'm
no,
Oh,
it's not
wahoo?
fresh.
Yeah.
Tuna. I loved canned tuna growing up. Holy cats, you have
the same
real.
thing.
We've never had fresh tuna.
Right.
So
That's
Seafood.
No, well, yeah, definitely. I mean, being here, seafood is world class. Now, when it comes to mainland adventures, have you guys explored the mainland?
yes,
What stood out about the mainland, and what are places you would recommend people that they should go
I
check
loved
out?
Chan Cheech.
Resort, right?
Yep, and there's learning about what Belizean. I know some people have frustrations about that you can't buy every beer you want or whatever, but learning about how much they put into the school, that little village that is there. Any of those youth that want to go on to high school, which that's a really big thing here, is that school's not free. In the States, all the way to high school, it's free. You don't provide a desk, you don't provide your books.
Right.
So that's something that's hard for a lot of people here. They hire teachers to come in to teach the grade school, and then if your parents have worked there, they will send those kids to high school. So that was really cool for me to see. And it also, again, was more like the ranch, where it was very relaxed, calm, quiet, or whatever. And Ian Anderson's was really neat too. Mm-hmm. Same thing. The wine and cheese tasting, and up in the trees and the water. And we actually bought a property on the mainland because we love that river, the Saboon River, and so we like to go there and go camping there because that Saboon River is very, very pretty. He's been different places.
I've been all. There's something different for everybody over there. The thing I like about it is it seems like this island can be kind of quick paced at times. Mm-hmm. There's usually something going on, or people asking you to go do something. Mainland seems like it's a lot more chill, a lot more relaxed.
This is the New York of Belize.
Exactly.
And what are the locations that you have enjoyed?
I really like Cayo area, getting up into the mountains there, like the Mountain Pine Ridge area. There's so many little different swimming holes up there, and also being in freshwater versus saltwater, it's a nice treat. It doesn't dry your hair out, nothing.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
You can open your eyes
I
underwater.
open my eyes out here, doggy.
But you probably already just used to it. I open my eyes in this salt water, my eyes turn red.
I've drank this salt water before.
Oh no, you made ramen
Made
with
ramen
it.
noodles with it.
He made ramen with it.
All right.
And
Extra
carbonara.
sodium.
Right? That's what ramen needs.
Oh,
Yeah,
good God.
exactly.
It was not overly
The blue
edible.
hole, they have the other blue hole, over
Blue
there.
hole on
That's
the
really
mainland,
cool.
really
That's
pretty spot.
really neat. And it's so weird, like you go along and then all of a sudden it's so cold.
That's a nice
If you
spot.
dive that little part there.
Placencia's, it's not like I said.
Yeah.
There's something different
PG.
throughout the entire. You
The
drive from one end to the
You
other.
guys
and it's
been to
complete-
PG?
Bird
Yeah,
Highway.
yeah. We've
Yeah.
been to PG 3 times. We actually went with the football team
I have
once.
never been to PG.
But we that drive, I love the drive from, like, it's different now that they have the coastal highway, but the old one where it used to go,
The Hummingbird Highway.
Hummingbird
Yes.
Highway.
Oh my
Very
goodness.
scenic.
Going
that
up
is
to
very pretty.
Orange Walk, Lamanai.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
really nice. You get the little boat ride up the river. There's so much wildlife and stuff
Yeah.
on there. It's pretty.
Absolutely awesome. So, Rachel, to finalize this episode, I know you have that one question you ask every guest.
Uh-oh. I forgot to Google this.
If you were mayor of San Pedro, what is the one thing that you would like to change or focus on or whatever?
Trucks.
Expand on that for people who don't know.
You want more trucks? Or-
More construction, definitely. Like I get development is gonna happen and it needs to happen and there has to be a way to do it. But holy cow,
The near
amount of
misses,
trucks going up and down the road, just flying through,
the damage that
and the
they
traffic jam. Like I have a golf cart sitting at the house. I live in town here. I don't use the golf cart. I'll have to walk all the way down to DFC. I'll walk.
Right.
Rather than take the golf cart sometimes, just from the frustration of traffic. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, and like, right now it's slow season. Sometimes during high season or the concert, holy cow. To get down Front Street would have taken you an hour. Mm-hmm. It's insane sometimes. I don't know what you could do about it.
And I know
honestly.
they've talked about this too on the town council page. It's, regulated hours and those sort of things.
I saw
it's
one that was saying they were going to do a overwater, like,
bypass.
road, a
Yeah.
bypass in the back in the
But we
lagoon.
haven't, but who knows if that was for
expensive
real that
would
they'll
that
do
be?
it.
Boats have to get under it and everything else.
But it's true because the quarries are up north, right? So for
Yes.
anything
Yes.
south, that's
So like
19
for
miles
us,
north.
we literally have so many near misses. We see so many near misses. They would be stops talking to each other on the road so they don't have to get out of their truck.
And
we
this-
actually had a medical issue where they were trying to rush me to town and there's 2 trucks parked and you couldn't get around them. So you have to holler at them, get them to move to...
Yeah, it's a big concern. It's definitely a big concern that has been arising, and it is. I do believe it is affecting the quality of life here in the
Yes.
island.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For me, it would be policing.
That
Having
too.
I'd been a probation officer. My master's is actually in forensic psychology, and there's very little counseling, if any, here, and the policing. You see all the leaked tapes and whatever. So as a forensic psychologist, it's like a doctor watching ER, where it's like that is not how you
Do it,
question
right.
someone. That is
Right.
not, you can't do this or you shouldn't. Those are leading questions or, things like that. And then follow through on it is just not something. If it's some big case that they think is going to generate a lot of news, then they might have it, but it won't even be. It'll just be a continuation of the case, anyways. But the police on a regular basis, and some of them really try. But one of the things I just recently read was how little they're paid. So when you think about how they're putting their life on the line, they're risking what. They can get shot. They're walking into into bad situations. Things like that. So my other one, of course, sorry if I'm going to pick 2, Rachel, is school.
Yep.
Is schooling for me as a teacher, as a mom. I would love to see these kids go on to see more. I don't know if they're doing anything here yet, but we have some family on the mainland that their daughter actually has a scholarship for high school that they're starting to do now for families,
great. Yep.
and providing some computers and things. And it's just, especially for girls, I feel it's so important for them to have other choices in life.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'd agree.
Those are all great, amazing answers, and we actually love asking those because we get just so much different perspectives from the different walks of life.
But we take advantage, we take it for granted. We take it for granted that we have the education in the U.S. That you have through high school
Right.
free. That everyone, they force you. If they find you not in school, you're truant, and they try to really push that. And they've actually even made it. You can't even get in the military with a GED anymore in the U.S. You have to graduate high school. They have really tried to do that. So to come here and then find out that how many families can't afford to put their kids through school, or maybe they even by 3rd grade they had to go to work to help mom and dad and slip through the cracks. So that's sad for me.
Absolutely. No, yeah, that's and it is true. A lot of folks have to choose, whether or there's 5 kids and hey,
Yep.
mama cannot send 5 kids to school. So and the
Yep.
older 2 are gonna have to get out and go to work while
Yep.
the younger 3 are able to,
Yeah.
sometimes even barely be able to afford to
Yes.
go to school. So that's that's a very valid point there. Well, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and it was very insightful for you, especially for families who are looking into wanting to make their relocation, and so give you that very real, but at the same time quite good
Inspiring,
and easy,
inspiring, yeah.
inspiring perspective.
And easy,
Yeah.
but also to
Yeah.
say, don't come down and buy the very first property or very first visit, sell everything and move, because we see that all the time too. That's another reason that I don't make a lot of friends with expats, is because they will come down and they'll be miserable and they go back.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you have to come down here and experience it, not when you're just on vacation.
Yep.
What's it like during slow season when a bunch of the restaurants are closed doing cleanings and what?
Yeah.
You need
know.
to appreciate the small things.
Yeah.
Appreciate the view you got. You don't have some of the things you want, but life's pretty all right.
Well, and I think also too, part of it's keeping busy.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you got your hands full. You're getting your hands full. You have been. It's not just sitting around and lingering.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
You've gotten
you
very
can't just be on
involved.
vacation the whole
Right.
time. You have
Yes.
to find
What's it gonna be
Exactly.
like?
What's
What are you gonna
important to
do?
you? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't sit. I don't know. Can't sit on a beach and drink all day, but
For a while, but
later on.
Well, guys, we appreciate you coming along.
Thank you.
We
Yeah,
thank you
thank
very
you.
much for sharing your story with us. And again, guys, remember to like and subscribe. Share this very inspiring story with all the folks that you come across that may have questions as well. This was The Local, Job,
And I'm Rachel the Gringa.
and we'll see you on the next one.